You do not become an actor in the gym. You do not become an actor at a party. It just doesn't happen. A lot of people will look at that and be like, oh my God, no, stay true to your art. I was like, okay, I'll stay true to my art, and then no one will f***ing see my film.
Speaking of that, do you have a dream role?
My dad really wants me to play James Bond.
From your experience, what is actually happening on ground?
My driver in India doesn't watch my work. He has no interest. He watches Lord of the Rings. He watches Harry Potter. He watches all the Avengers. He watches all these bigger-than-life films.
Hi, I'm Ritika Agrawal.
And I'm Ankur Rathee, and we are on Off Script.
Hello, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
This is amazing because the last time I had you, this show was called Try with Champs. It was online, so we recorded on Zoom. And like I was telling you before we started filming, the episode just resonated with so many people.
I'm really happy to hear that. You know, I do these things and then I assume that, you know, people watch it, but I don't ever expect that it's going to have any significant impact. But just chatting with you, you know, off screen before this, it's so cool to know that it inspired some people to give Mumbai a shot, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, no.
Because I feel like when I talk to people, my story should dissuade them probably from going and do such a wild thing. But it's pretty cool to hear that others are passionate enough to try it.
Absolutely. I mean, you encouraged me. Rahul and I did it in Bombay when we were like in India 2 months ago. Two of our friends did it, and it was kind of a fun experience. We built relationships, and you know, we got through auditions and introductions. It was just fun. And like I was telling you, your voice was always at the back. Like, Ankur did it, we can do it. So I know we might have new audience here who probably didn't hear that story. Mm-hmm. Can you take us back to, you know, your Princeton days, to you doing your full-time job, and then your dad saying, "Ja Ankur, ji le apni zindagi," and going to Bombay?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess the summary is, I was a kid who grew up immersed in the performing arts, loved to dance, loved to sing, got involved in acting through musical theater in high school, and I never had the courage to really say out loud that I wanted to be a film actor. Yeah. And I didn't have that courage because it was an absurd thing to say, statistically speaking, and especially so in my family, where, you know, my grandfather, my grandfather's grandfather, and my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather were all farmers from Haryana, you know, and I don't think there was a cultural acceptance of a life of an artist in that way. And so I did what any good Indian boy does, which is I studied hard, and I was told again and again that you have to go to an Ivy League school, and I did. Yeah. And once I got there, I thought to myself, well, okay, you know, now it's really time to focus so I can get a job. But lo and behold, again, I got pulled into 2 a cappella groups, 2 dance companies, again, musical theater and acting. And it was about my junior summer. I was doing an internship in New York City for an advertising technology firm, where for the first time in my, I guess almost in my entire life, I was just in an office for 2.5, 3 months straight and hadn't entered a rehearsal space, hadn't been on stage, hadn't really used my creative instrument as an artist. Yeah. And I got a job offer. I did well, which is awesome, but I felt this deep creative void. And even though I succeeded that summer at that company, that realization or that intuition struck where it's like, oh, I can't avoid this anymore. I have to be an actor. Yeah. And so I got back to school. I changed my entire curriculum. I'd already finished my requirements, and I just took performance-based classes and decided that I'm going to become an actor, which is, you know, it's just a wild thing. If you knew my life story and my upbringing, it's just a wild thing to say. Yeah. The VP of sales at that time called me, and he's like, hey, you're the only one who hasn't accepted your offer. I was like, well, I want to be an actor. And he was kind enough to be like, well, okay, we'll create flexible hours enough for you to kind of pursue that on the side. If you got to take a 2-3 hour lunch break to go do auditions, you know, uptown, like, do what you got to do. Yeah. And so that's what I did. I held down a job, and I would do off-Broadway theater on the side, off-Broadway theater. And it wasn't until my father came to visit and my mother came to visit, and I thought they'd be proud, you know, that, okay, you know, a kid, he did his whole Ivy League education, he's got a good job, he's earning well, You know, he's financially independent, and I felt really great being financially independent. I was gonna buy my parents dinner that night, you know, and be like, look at me, I'm the son that you guys had always hoped I'd be. And they had just kind of witnessed my life, me like waking up at 6 a.m., working until 6 p.m., and then doing rehearsals from 6 p.m. onwards to sometimes midnight, you know. And you know, he was just like, you're an idiot. Basically, in Haryanvi, but he basically said, you know, you got one foot here and one foot there.
Yeah.
And if you proceed in this way, you're not going to succeed in either. So if this whole acting and artist thing is still something that's yanking at you, then it's time to like make the jump with both feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that really scared the shit out of me, because when you want something your whole life and you think it's not, you know, feasible, and then someone says, well, here, take it, suddenly your hand starts to shake. You're like, oh, well, now I don't know if I can even do it in the first place. And I did. I told him, I said, Dad, I don't know if I can do it. He said, no, quit your job. I said, quit my job? I just became financially independent. How am I going to support myself? He says, so what? I supported your, you know, dumbass for 22 years. I'll do it for another 2 years, and I'll consider it your MBA.
Yeah.
He's like, I would have paid for your grad school anyway. So, by the way, for anyone listening, like, I know how privileged that is, right? Not everyone is in that financial position.
Yeah.
And most South Asian parents aren't crazy enough to tell their kids to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he did, and he said, I want you to quit your job in 3 months. And I was the one who negotiated. I was like, Dad, I need 6 months at least to figure all this out. And in that time span, I had this crazy intuition that I need to go to India and start my career there first as a full-time artist, and that's what I did. Did that catch us up?
That caught us up, and it's been a decade of you building your career and having so many incredible projects behind you in India and now also in Hollywood. Best of Best is coming up.
That's right.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that was a career shift that I always wanted to make, but was accelerated by my wife, Anuja Joshi, who ended up doing many seasons on The Resident and then continues to flourish in Hollywood. But she was the trailblazer. She was the one who suddenly made it seem possible.
Yeah. And she inspired your career even 10 years ago when you started out, right?
Yeah, God, she's my North Star.
We need to bring her on, by the way.
Yeah, you really should.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in talking to me. All my ideas, everything I'm going to say, I'm just stealing from her, just so you guys know.
We need to snip you out and then just place her in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but you really have built your career in both of these worlds now, Indian cinema and Hollywood. And there's this, all the reports are saying we're in this new era of glocalization, which is basically global localization of content. I mean, Netflix's slate has 38% of non-English shows, which is incredible, and it's only growing. I have a two-part question for you, and the first one is, from your experience, what is actually happening on ground? Like, what's the on-ground reality of making global storytelling possible? And the part two question to that is, how do you stay relevant for both of these industries, Indian cinema and Hollywood?
Well, what makes it possible is quite honestly, these streaming platforms are what really accelerated it to a large degree. So I guess you look at it from two sides. So what makes local content in other parts of the world relevant to American audiences or English-speaking audiences, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
I would say that these streaming platforms, what they did was they were able to really open up access. In India, they kind of skipped the whole desktop generation. Like it just went straight from no technology to suddenly a smartphone in your hand. Mm-hmm. And you add to that these streaming platforms where you can suddenly watch all the content from all parts of the globe dubbed in Hindi. Now suddenly your cinematic palette evolves. You start to have an appetite for a lot of international content, Hollywood content.
Yeah.
So from that end, that really changed things. It changed the game. And from here, I think, and similarly on that side, dubbing things in multiple languages is now just such common practice.
Yeah.
And here, before, if you wanted to watch a Bollywood movie, when I was growing up, I was in San Diego. I had to drive all the way up to Artesia just to like watch a Hindi film in the theater.
Yeah.
Now you don't need to do that. Now anyone, doesn't matter what race and ethnicity you're from, you can just log into your local streaming platform and just watch Indian content. You can watch Korean content. I mean, it's all becoming so globalized in that way. So I think those are some of the factors that have kind of led to this environment. And then I can speak specifically to India. India is the largest English-speaking democracy. So language isn't as much of a barrier in that way. And like I said, the content here is resonating there, and I think that's why the industry in India is struggling a lot, is because now they're competing with the global market. And whereas before they had this kind of monopoly on South Asian cinema, you know, South Asian audiences didn't really have anywhere else to really go in that way, and now they can. My driver in India doesn't watch my work. He has no interest. He watches Lord of the Rings, he watches Harry Potter, he watches all the Avengers, he watches all these bigger than life films. He's like, sir, humne to Matrix dekha hua hai Hindi mein.
Hindi mein.
I was like, all right then, I guess, you know. So we got to compete at that level now. Your question as to how I or others can stay relevant in both industries, I think that comes down to immigration being one challenge. I'm fortunate to be an American citizen that allows me to work, you know, very easily in the States, and then I've got a lifetime visa in India. I can work there as well. I think as we see, immigration is becoming more and more challenging with the current administration. A lot of productions I've noticed don't necessarily always want to take that chance, and if they do, in terms of like, you know, clearing immigration for a particular artist who works, you know, abroad, it's a process for sure. And there's a risk associated with it at times. So that's one element of it. I'd say the other element of it is understanding how to adapt your craft for each medium and each format. It's something every actor does within their own ecosystem, right? So if I'm in India, if I'm doing a limited series for Netflix that's like Single Papa, you know, my performance volume or the nature of my performance is going to change versus if I'm doing Delhi Crime or Shif Ali Shah. You know, it's completely different genres. And I think furthermore, the same way you would as an actor shift your performance caliber, I mean your performance nature for different genres, you do so also for different markets. So if you're doing something in America, you have to understand how to pivot for sitcom versus a serious drama versus like White Lotus, you know. And I think that's a really big thing that a lot of my colleagues don't necessarily always think about. They're phenomenal actors, but if you're going to be auditioning abroad, you have to pay attention. Who's the showrunner? What else have they done? Who's the director if it's a feature film?
And so since you've been working largely in India, how did that set you up for success in America here? For Best of Best, for example, of course, you've been dancing before you started acting, but was there like a process shift or something that you saw different when you started working here?
Little by little, I kind of understood like, acting is acting. And the creative collaborative process is the same anywhere you go in the world. At least in my experience, people want to work with people that are passionate and care about what they do. And that was the energy I brought to it. And I was so fortunate to be around like-minded people, talented people on Best of the Best. And we had a great experience. So, not too different, to be honest with you.
No, I'm so excited to see that, by the way. All of us are. In one of your recent interviews, you said a phrase that really stuck with me, which was, it's not nepotism, it's bankability, and film is business. And I really loved the way you phrased that, especially because nepotism is just such a hot topic all the time in India. Prior to us filming the podcast, we were talking about self-tapes, right? And I think the power of social media has allowed actors to really use platforms in unique ways and, you know, build credibility without solid film credits. I mean, for you, like, you spent 10 years building, whether it was Four More Shots, Undekhi, Shehzada, now Single Papa, just so many different films. But for an actor on social media, it's a little different. If you were starting from zero now in 2026, how would you fast track your bankability?
It's a great question. All great questions, by the way. You know, bankability in the business of filmmaking, I like to think of ourselves as a product, a service, right? So you can you could do all the greatest of marketing and build a business around a really cheap flimsy product,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll get sales initially. But eventually, your Amazon reviews will drop.
Yeah.
Eventually, people will stop buying it. You could have a few TikTok reels go viral showcasing your product or your service. But once people buy it, they're going to be like, it doesn't really match up to our expectations. And I think we do see that oftentimes on social media, right? Where if the service is your acting caliber and your command over your craft, if that's flimsy, if that isn't robust, if that isn't versatile, if that isn't grounded in experience and training, then yeah, you can create a bunch of really viral videos on Instagram and social media, but when that is just going to open the doors for you. That's all that's going to do, is it's going to get you the meetings. In my experience, what I've seen is it's going to get you that meeting with that director or that producer. And you might even have enough of a fan following to justify a business decision from a producer's perspective and say, well, that's going to get, butts and seats because, she or he brings such a huge fan following. But eventually, if you don't have the talent to back it up, and the training to back it up, that film or that series or that show is going to flop, or your performance will hinder, the project's success. And the next time, the doors are not going to open. And so really, the social media bit, I think, is very important. I think it's a great, great way to create a calling card for yourself. It's a great way to receive attention. And don't get me wrong, in this business, attention is currency.
Yeah.
You can, it's the reverse is also true. I know a lot of serious entrepreneurs who've got a great product in different industries, not even in entertainment, but they've got no business sense in the way of marketing that product, and so that's why their market is so small.
Right.
So, and I know a lot of great, incredible theater actors and even cinema actors who just don't know how to play that game. And if you want to be a commercial actor, you got to be able to do both.
Right.
And so, if I were to do it all over again in 2026, I don't know if I would do anything crazily different, in that I would really focus on honing my craft first and foremost. And then I would create content based off of like a robust skill. And for me, that was dancing. It just happened to be that I'd been dancing my whole life.
Yeah.
And then social media became a place where I got to joyfully put dance videos that weren't, there was no strategy behind it.
Yeah.
It was just like, I like to dance. I like to collaborate with other dancers. And yeah, I've selfishly and narcissistically, maybe I enjoyed the attention I would get from people commenting on my dance videos. But that became a calling card. That became something that put me in the forefront. But once I got into the door, they weren't hiring a dancer.
Yeah.
They were hiring an actor. And luckily I had some acting chops to back it up. And that kind of snowballed into something else. So if anyone's out there trying to become an actor today, I don't think there's any shortcut when it comes to craft.
Yeah.
Do that first. And then when you're on social media, don't do stuff that anyone else can do.
Yeah.
Do stuff that's uniquely you.
Yeah.
Just doing trends and stuff like that will get you quick followers and stuff, but you're not going to leave any unique impact in that landscape. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I'm taking mental notes as you were talking. No, that absolutely did answer the question. I think it's like, how do you cut the noise, right? At the end of the day, there's so much on social media that you're consuming. There's so many actors that, the whole conversation around influencers becoming actors, but like you rightly said, it's all about the craft at the end of the day. So if you are an influencer, but you are actually going to workshops, for example, or taking acting seriously, of course you do deserve that stage then, but I think the audience always does. And we've seen examples, I'm not going to call out names, but there's been movies that haven't performed well no matter what the cast was. Yeah.
Really big internet personalities, really big ones, I won't take the names, have failed to translate on cinema or on television, in Hollywood and in India.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some other thought that I had. Yeah, like a dance is a great example. Like I open up TikTok and Instagram, and now you see all these like dance videos that are just like, it's not really choreography in that way, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you're trying to build a career, that'll get you views, but like there's no replacement for training as a dancer and doing choreography. And similarly as an actor, me and my sister used to do those like the TikToks where you know, like the Kardashians, you
Yeah.
do voiceover and stuff. It's super fun.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, if you really want to showcase your talent, well, then write stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, vertical dramas are so popular. You can do that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, write it, cast it, shoot it. I mean, that's the real, I think, benefit of social media now is you've got a platform.
Yeah.
But don't waste it with frivolous stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to build a career.
Yeah.
You know, if you already got a career, then yeah, have fun with it. What difference does it make?
Yeah. I'm curious. I met a lot of independent filmmakers, actors that kind of went the DIY route. And you kind of took the path of going to Bombay and doing the rounds and figuring out who you're meeting and then actually starting from the ground up.
Lunacy.
I don't think so. Look where you are now. Why did you not take the DIY independent path? Like, why did you choose that for yourself? Why didn't you write and cast yourself in your short, go to the film festival round?
Yeah. I think it's kind of going back to the earlier question. I wasn't that talented.
Yeah.
I like to every couple of months, every 6 months or so, I've got this audition I did in New York City. It was my first audition for this off Broadway play. I was playing Julius Caesar in it or something. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's like hilariously bad.
Yeah.
And I was bad for a very long time in my career. How can you create good content if you haven't studied, in that industry? If you haven't put in the hours? And like, look, practice makes perfect, but it's really more perfect practice makes perfect, So you can go out there and just start writing and stuff, and you can learn that way. And there's nothing wrong with it. I've done that in my career too. I would say that's what I did as a singer.
Yeah.
Like, I would never consider myself a singer. I have actual professional singers, and so I'm nowhere close to their level or their caliber. But everything I know about singing was just because I just threw myself into an a cappella group or into choir in high school and learned a little bit along the way. But I was never really serious about it in that way. And so how can I compete? So if you want to compete at that level, like, you got to get good at your stuff, I do think natural talent takes you a long way, but there's really no replacement for the work ethic and the training.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the talent and the work ethic. I had the work ethic. I didn't have the talent and the mastery over the craft to kind of do it myself. I needed to kind of like I needed a diamond in the rough. I needed to kind of like sand away all that nonsense and kind of become more authentic and more in line with the kind of artist that I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm in a place where I wrote a feature film recently and it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was flying because I'd been on so many sets. I understood filmmaking from so many different angles. My imagination really was not restrained by my lack of experience. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you really took each step seriously and then decided what you wanted to do next, which makes sense.
But, I don't want to dissuade people from doing it yourself. I mean, the entertainment economy is very different today, and you don't need to be in part of an institution to hone your craft anymore. You got YouTube videos for that, and you have the internet to really connect with other creators to do that.
Yeah. You
really can just become very, very good at your craft without joining USC or NYU or going to Aramnagar in India and meeting with producers and directors. Yeah. Then there are people who've succeeded in that way.
Yeah. So there's success in both. I mean, it just depends on what path you choose for yourself at the end of the day.
Yes. And I'll also say one more thing, that I was just too afraid to do it myself.
Yeah.
I just finally found the courage to say that I want to be a professional actor. The idea for me to be like, well, not only do I want to be my own actor, but screw the conventional system. I'm going to do it myself. Like, I didn't have that level of self-confidence yet.
Yeah, yeah. And about the feature that you wrote, any progress on that? Do you know if you're going to make it soon?
Oh, man, yeah. It's so funny. Like, the really fun thing about being an actor and truly falling in love with the industry is you end up... Well, at least I can speak for myself. You end up falling in love with storytelling. Yeah. You're as an actor, you're just one part of that storytelling, and you come in quite late stage. And I was just enamored by getting to be there earlier on in the filmmaking process. And so I ended up creating this writing this film, and then I did a whole table read, and it's in a really good place. I need to do a few rewrites, but as I started to go do that, suddenly all this acting work happened last year, and I had to kind of put it on hold, which is kind of a win-win.
Yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
It's like last year I was on set a lot, and I couldn't go back to the writing, but now that there's a little bit more of a lull, I can kind of pick that back up.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lull, I want to get a little bit more personal with you. So Single Single Papa came out in 2025, and I feel like for a lot of the audience that's not a part of the industry at large, they believe like, oh, that's your year. But they don't realize that you've probably spent about a year or 2 or 3 on that project. And even right now, you might be working on a few projects that aren't out yet. And like you said, there's like that lull period, right? What is the financial reality of a full-time actor during this like waiting period of shooting, waiting, getting paid, and how are you stable in an industry that's not so stable?
I love that you're asking me questions I have no clue how to answer. No, it's not something that I think anyone has like a straightforward answer to. It's different for many people, and I know people that are very, very famous and successful that still struggle to answer this question. But I will say, there's 2 stages to this. When you're starting off, and then when you have a robust career and you've established yourself. So let me start with the first one. Before I took that job in New York City, I called a few alumni from Princeton who were in my dance company with me and working as artists in New York. And I said, hey, listen, there's this job, but I want to be an actor, and I don't want that to distract from my acting goals and this and that. And this incredible Tony Award-winning choreographer now, Jeff Cooperman, who was my senior at Princeton, he was like, dude, you still got to pay your bills. So, like, what do you think everyone else is doing? They're waiting tables. So, like, you still need to make money somehow, early days. So either that's through passive income, or that's through waiting tables and doing some odd jobs here and there. Or he was like, you got a job offer that's giving you flexibility, do that.
Yeah.
Earn well. And at the same time, just you have to be disciplined enough not to lose focus on what your actual ultimate goal is. And so anyone who's starting off, I would say, if there's a lot of friends of mine and even youngsters who come and ask me, I can't say youngsters, that makes me sound so freaking old. I am young. I'm very young still. But younger, Gen Zers or whatever, they come to me and they say, I want to be an actor, full time. I said, well, you can't be an actor full time. I'm barely an actor no one's a full time actor. Like, no one's doing 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It's rare. Even like the biggest Hollywood celebrities, they do, a film every 2 years sometimes. They got other commitments that they have for sure. But I'm saying is no one's working every single day.
Yeah.
So I would say to those people is, hey, you still got to put food on the table. Find another creative way to earn a living while you're still auditioning and acting and taking acting classes and creating your own stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then a caveat to that, if you come from great financial privilege and you don't need to put food on the table in that way, I would still say occupy your time with other creative endeavors, because otherwise it'll eat you alive. And I know so many people who have gone to Mumbai to become actors and wasted away their downtime partying. You do not become an actor in the gym. You do not become an actor at a party. It just doesn't happen. Be creative in other ways. Later on, when you're in a different stage of your career, and now you have a few different franchises you're a part of, a few gigs that are lined up, and you're working quite frequently, you still have that downtime. And I think that's where, that's the kind of position I'm in some ways, is you kind of wonder, what do I do with this downtime?
Yeah.
And that's where kind of writing became something that I really enjoyed, and creating my own stories became very interesting to me. I'm also keenly interested in producing.
Okay.
So I'm working with a company and kind of building out their content division. I'm just like fully using my instrument in so many other faculties now, and I found that writing made me a better actor. It helped me better with scene study.
Yeah.
It all kind of feeds into each other. And for those that are financially able to, have those few projects a year, support them all year long, I would still say the same thing, is that, do stuff that's going to keep your instrument in tune, and your craft alive, because you don't want it to become stale and dull, so that when that opportunity does come, you're not prepared.
Yeah. Absolutely. I appreciate the transparency so much. And like you said, I've met so many people now, having all of these conversations, and then also friends, where the constant question is, how do we fund the film? How do we make money? And the constant anxiety that comes with that takes away from the craft. And you don't want to be in a position like that. So how do you let creative freedom exist with financial freedom is always the question. And then when the audience hears things like this from you, I think that allows them to be a little bit more reassured. So I appreciate the transparency.
Yeah, it's, you got to make up your mind. Do you want to be a commercial actor? Do you want to be work in the commercial filmmaking space, or do you want to do art house cinema? And those are two different paths, but if you want to do the commercial stuff, you got to create and think a little bit from that business and commercial lens as well. It can't just be purely artistic. Like this feature film that I wrote, I look at it now and I'm like, will Indian audiences go and watch this? And I was like, well, it does have this musical number in it. Well, it does have that dynamic in it. But maybe I need to, amp up this. Maybe I need to change that. And a lot of people will look at that and be like, oh my God, no, stay true to your art. I was like, okay, I'll stay true to my art, and then no one can see my film. Yeah. What's the point of that for me? I mean, that's my perspective, and it's nothing wrong with others who choose to be very, very true to their art and okay with a few number of people seeing it. But if you want to keep making your art, you got to be able to sell it. That's a big part of it.
Absolutely. It's a business at the end of the day. How do you become a commercial actor? If there's like someone listening right now choosing what path to go, what does it mean to be a commercial actor?
To me, it means that you're able to support yourself as an actor, and you're making choices that would add financial value to the producers that actually buy your service and your product. Yeah. Very much like, if a commercial actor means you're an entrepreneur. That's what that means. That means that you are your own legal team. You're going through your contracts, so you're making sure you're not screwed over. That means you are your own marketing team. You're managing your own social media. That means that you are your engineering team and your product team, and you are constantly working on your service and your craft. That means that you are the customer service team. You are going and building relationships out there, and when you're on set, even if it's an asshole of a director and a terrible, terrible producer, you know when to put your foot down and when to still smile and be like, Hanji, bilkul. Bilkul, nahi, kyun nahi, bilkul, bilkul. You have to learn how to play the politics in the game. Yeah. That's what it means to be a commercial actor. To be a non-commercial actor is someone, you're just doing it because you love it. And that's such a purity, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But it's really tough to kind of earn a living that way. Yeah. No. Okay, that was really, really good. I want to segue into our rapid fire round. Ooh, rapid. Okay. The first one. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. If you could play one of your characters for the rest of your life, Kabir from Made in Heaven or Arjun from Four More Shots, who would it be? I would play Arjun from Four More Shots.
Why?
Well, for one, I even forgot my Made in Heaven character's name was Kabir. How's that for one? Okay. No, but Arjun, because he's so innocent. Yeah. I mean, he's just...
He is. Yeah, the last season.
He's such an innocent, sweet guy. Yeah. And there's a certain carefreeness about him, too. Yeah. And there's some depth to him. And, I just feel like... If I was young watching Four More Shots Please and seeing Arjun, I'd be like, that guy seems like he has a really good life. Yeah. He's a lawyer, yeah. He seems to do well with the ladies. Yeah. It just seems like something I'd like to live. Sure.
Okay, let's go. Second one project that made you feel like you belong here.
In the industry, you mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. A part of me kind of feels like I still haven't had that. But Shehzada. Yeah. I think Shehzada was a film that didn't do well commercially. Mm-hmm. But I was sharing screen space with Paresh Rawal and Manisha Koirala and Amit Roy. From that generation I grew up watching. And then obviously my own, current day counterparts like Kirti and what's it called? Karthik. It was pretty amazing to just suddenly be catapulted outside of the streaming world and be in such a major blockbuster commercial film like that.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't a blockbuster, but yeah.
I really liked it.
Well,
It was a remake, right, of a South Indian film. Yeah,
yes.
I watched both, so I liked it.
You and the few people who came and bought tickets to... No, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Yeah. Okay. Third one thing you're trying to let go of. Like, it could be a mindset, it could be a habit, it could be anything. One thing that you're really trying to let go of.
Indecisiveness. I think I am... Some part of my Princeton overthinking, over-intellectualizing brain really fights up against the kind of flow state artist. And just like go with the flow, and my intuition tells me to do this. And that mental noise distracts from really doing what's right. You know, you kind of alluded to it earlier about how, you know, social media, there's so much noise. Sometimes that noise will creep in. And nowadays the noise is super intelligent.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see interviews of actors or influencers, whatever, and you're like, wow, that's a really good point. Oh my God, I should be doing that.
Yep.
And they're making good points. But it's, in this career, what I've learned is you got to do what works for you. And kind of go all in on that rather than trying to be skin deep, but like doing a ton of different things. And I'm guilty of that quite often.
Do you have a dream role?
Do I have a dream role? My dad really wants me to play James Bond.
Okay.
And he's kind of planted that seed in my mind. And now Riz did this show called Bait.
Yeah.
And so I would love for Riz to play James Bond. And I would happily play James Bond right after him.
Okay, let's go. We manifested. I love manifesting things on this show, and then you come back and you tell me I'm playing James Bond.
Heck yeah, dude. I feel like I'd be a great James Bond.
Yeah.
I think that I won't go into it because this is a rapid fire, but I think I've got all the things that are required to play that role well.
Okay, awesome. And then advice to younger self.
Advice to younger self: meditate every day. Do not take your spiritual practice for granted. It is the bedrock. It is really what's going to drive you through all the rejection. It is what's going to fuel your perseverance. It is what's going to help you pull creative ideas from the astral and bring them into manifestation. It's what's going to help keep your self-esteem high.
Yeah.
It's going to help you walk into rooms knowing that you are you're deserving of the opportunities presented to you. That's what I would say.
That was beautiful, and that was the end of our rapid fire with a lot of in-depth answers, which I love. But I love that you brought up meditation, because that's something I learned about you recently, because I ended up seeing one of your TED Talks and learned that you meditate every day, twice a day, and you've been doing that since you were 12?
Yeah, 12, I was kind of introduced to this, the spiritual path of Self-Realization Fellowship. I grew up Hindu, but there's a difference between being culturally Hindu or culturally Muslim and then being actually like, a devout practitioner of your faith. And you can practice it in many different ways. But I didn't grow up in a household where we really practiced the teachings of Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas in that way. But I found this path when I was 12. And when I was young, I always spoke to God in my mind and to myself. But it wasn't until I was on this path and I kind of was introduced to the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, where I was like, oh, this is who I've been speaking to, and these are the teachings that are resonating with me. These are the things that I've intuitively always felt.
Yeah.
And once I started practicing those teachings, and that's what Yogananda said was, this path is not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I would say for anyone who's a spiritual seeker, whatever path you go towards, don't be a spiritual butterfly where you are only there briefly before you can actually taste the nectar. And Yogananda said, practice these teachings for 6 months, and if they don't have any practical benefit to your life, no worries.
Yeah.
This path is not for you. But I practiced the teachings, and they had a profound impact on me, and they really, really changed the way I kind of navigated the world and built a kind of even-mindedness within me that I use to this day.
Yeah, and I mean, in an industry where I think there's two emotions, right? It's either rejection or stardom. And rejection crushes your confidence, and stardom kind of challenges your identity. So, how have you protected yourself, especially through the spiritual path that you chose in an industry like this?
I think I still fail sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm better now than I was when I started off. I think you're so right. The rejection will just really, enough rejection will make you doubt everything.
Yeah.
Enough rejection will make you think like, I mean, what was it? Maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, I was trying to transition into Hollywood, and my career in India felt like it was plateauing. I was getting a lot of the same roles. I was doing this audition for something in Hollywood, and Anuja was putting me on tape, and I just couldn't get the scene right.
Mm.
I was getting through it, but I was stumbling my way through it. The beats weren't precise. The choices weren't flowing. I finally got through a take, and she was like, okay, good. And I just like broke down crying.
Oh.
And she was like, oh my God, what happened? And I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like 7.5, 8 years being a professional actor.
Yeah.
After many of the credits that you mentioned, I was like, I'm not meant for this. I should have just become an investment banker like my friends at Princeton. I would have been so much better off.
Mm.
This is so torturous. And like a good partner, she held me and she said, absolutely not. I'd never let you do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what this career will do. That it's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
The life of an artist, period. I won't even just say actor. You could be a visual artist for that matter.
Yeah.
So you got periods like that, and then you got periods where you're just like straight out becoming arrogant and you don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the celebrity engine and the PR engine feeds into the narcissism and the ego so much you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Like in India, I show up on set and like you have what's called a spot boy. You've got like people waiting on you hand and foot. The wealth disparity is so great also. So if you have any kind of financial success, suddenly it feels like I'm the shit, know? And that'll creep up in ugly ways in your personality. And so to answer how I've gotten through all of that and gotten better at it, it is the spirituality for sure. Every day really, reconnecting again and again with what, my divine goal is and the fact that I'm a child of God and everyone around me is a child of God, and to give them that love and to lead with love and mutual respect. Yeah. It goes such a long way.
Yeah. Thank you for being so vulnerable. That was very beautiful. I feel like so relatable also. You have your highs and then you have your lows, and like weeks like this for me when I'm recording, filming on set, it's like, oh my gosh, I love this. But nobody sees the behind the scenes of like you being on your laptop every single day, figuring stuff out, auditioning, doing this. And those are the low days. You're like, are you actually cut out for this? So I completely resonate with that story, and I know a lot of other people do. But then it's also the people you surround yourself with. And for you, that was Anuja. Right? Anuja plays such a big role in your career, in your life, everything. And in one of your interviews, it was so sweet. You mentioned that you and Anuja were in your New York apartment. You like bent over, saw Empire State, and like felt a little bit of hope. And you both knew that you're going to figure it out. I want to revisit our whole conversation on noise, because I feel like you said, there is so much noise around us. How do you tune that noise out actually in theory and not let it become strategy? Because there's so many things you can do and there's so many things you shouldn't be doing. So how do you both tune that noise out?
There's this actor named Surya Sharma. He's a colleague of mine. We do this show called Undekhi every year. Season 5 is coming out May 1st, which is in...
Oh, awesome.
Feels like in 2 weeks, right? He said to me, this is an offhand comment, he basically said that I don't like to do what everyone else is doing. He's like, I am, essentially, in not so many words, he had said that I do what makes me unique. Yeah. What makes me me. And I think that that's a really good mantra to follow because I'm definitely guilty of doing things because other people were doing them. And there's nothing wrong with being inspired by what other people do, for sure. But to cut through the noise, I think you should ask yourself, can anyone else do this? or can I do this? And if anyone else can do this, then how can I do it differently?
Yeah.
You know, that's what I would say is the best advice I can give, honestly.
Yeah.
That, and also really think about your why. What is your ultimate goal, and why is it that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are you trying to achieve, and what is your value system? What is your belief system?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just be a famous actor, or do you want to work with that director?
Mm-hmm.
That changes everything, right? Like, if you say, I want to work with that director, that means that you want to do that kind of cinema. That means that's the kind of performance you want to do. Then you look at other actors who have worked with that. What has been their career path? You start to work backwards in that way.
Yeah.
Right? If it's too general, your goal, if it's too broad, and there's, you know, in the specificity is where the creativity really flourishes. And that's true also with scene work, not to digress, but when you're making choices and as an actor, to be very specific about your choices.
Yeah.
If you're just generally playing sad, your performance is going to suck, you know?
Yeah.
But if it's very specific about, you know, whether it's like nostalgia,
Yeah.
right? Of going by your high school and seeing the courtyard where you and your friends used to, you know, joke around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a very specific emotion and memory that's going to evoke something very specific. So similarly, I think in your career strategy, do something specific that's uniquely you.
Yeah. You've always had this type A mindset, which I love, and type A responses, and you've led your first decade of your career through that. What is the next chapter looking like? How are you using your type A mindset?
I think I should abandon type A. I think I should go the opposite direction. I don't know if type A is serving me to the same extent. Really, this next chapter, I hope to lead more with intuition and less fear. I am very guilty of still allowing fear to creep its way in.
Mm.
Just yesterday, day before yesterday, Anuja and I were talking about how she's like, why are you so, what is you, how, you've had successes.
Yeah.
Why are you still afraid that, I was like, I don't know. I'm just afraid that I'm not going to be able to realize my greatest potential, that all these really big ambitions that I have, that they won't come to fruition. And so I think in this next chapter, I realized a lot of that fear comes from this very masculine risk analysis, overthinking mindset, a little bit type A of like, I'm going to cover all my bases. You know, if I'm going into this meeting, I'm going to research this, research that, research this. I'm going to use Claude and ChatGPT to come up with like a briefing document. Like, that's how I am. Or in our previous interview, I mentioned that I had gone and created flashcards for all the people in the industry, you know? And I think that quells my anxiety and my fear. It's a coping mechanism. But over the years, I realized it's become also a crutch at times. And so I want to have like a Kanye level, you know, self-belief.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be Kanye, okay? He's made some choices I don't agree with. But that level of like self-belief and just like without the thinking, intuitively just taking a strong step forward and be like, no, this feels right. Mm-hmm. This feels right. And then just moving.
Yeah.
I'd like more of that in my career.
Okay, I hope you do that.
I hope so too.
Yes, but I'm very excited for all the projects that are coming up. Thank you so much again for being so transparent. It's always so lovely chatting with you, so reassuring. And thank you again for being on the show. I can't wait to have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you for such riveting, intelligent, introspective questions.
Oh.
I like to use interviews as therapy. And this is what this felt like.
Oh, you said that the last time too. So
did I really?
Yes, you said
Oh my God, it's stayed true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stayed true with you.
Gosh.
There's times where I do interviews and I'm just like, oh my God. Another question just like this. You could just look at the other 5 interviews I gave. But this felt like we were really building to interesting truths together.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you back.
How's that for?
Oh, so we found it.
It's the best one.